Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And as we're recording, we have 2 days left till the season starts. And when this comes out on Thursday, the season will be starting tomorrow with the Swindon Wildcats against the Berkshire Bees. We are joined by we've got a special guest joining us for this episode. We have Mr. Hockey, Mr. English Hockey himself, Andrew Day. Thanks for joining us.
Hi everyone, thank you for letting me join.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to have you on the podcast. I think it's been a long time coming. Charlie and Dan, you doing all right as well?
I'm all good.
I've got my popcorn.
Yes, looking
got my
snazzy in your
drink.
room.
I am ready for the most controversial podcast of the year.
Yeah, we're gonna have loads of fans tuning in, wondering what our predictions and who our players of the season's gonna be. We're gonna do all of that a bit later. But I thought Andrew will start with a few questions for yourself, because I know a lot of people may know you on Twitter and Facebook for your updates within English, British ice hockey all over the country. So how did you get into ice hockey, I guess, is the first question.
Well, when I was back at school and everything, I used to like field hockey a lot to begin with, and then Winter Olympics sort of came on the telly, and the main one I remember was like the '94 Lillehammer one, and seeing the Sweden-Canada game, and Sweden won that, and that made me then wanted to actually go and see some games. So I looked around near where I was, and at the time we had like the MK Kings and the Peterborough Pirates at the time,
Oh, nice, yeah.
and I saw they actually were both playing each other over in Milton Keynes, and I went to see them play, and then saw the odd few games, but then the Milton Keynes rink kind of like closed for a bit. The the Kings went to Solihull for a bit, and then they kind of disappeared. And then it wasn't until I'd say when the actual MK Lightning started, I think around 2002, started to watch them quite regularly, and it kind of went from there.
And I'm sure a lot of people probably want to know this question. Do you support a team in the National League or just British ice hockey, or are you just a fan of British ice hockey in general?
I'll change it a little bit. The question to begin with, if you say I support anyone, I'm going to say the Frölunda for Sweden. But
Yeah.
English wise,
Yeah.
I was a Lightning fan. I'll be honest with until I went to the Elite League, and I then didn't want to watch the Elite League, but it was quite far away, all the clubs, and I'm used to seeing a lot more British players. The team would changed a lot and everything. But since then, I would say I'm kind of now neutral and everything. So I'd watch any hockey anyway, really.
Obviously, we're massive National League fans, and we'll watch the Elite League games if they're on, if there's no National League games as well. But what is it about the National League which you love the most? I'm sure there's loads of stuff about the National League and hockey, but what is it about the National League which just grips you to putting it all over your Twitter, going to all the games?
It's got a lot of British players, so it's good there. The teams don't massively change. There's usually a good core of players in different teams and stuff, so there's a bit of sort of regularity and stuff. You see a lot of new coming players sort of come and then will challenge up and things. For example, I don't know Sean Norris, for example, you sort of saw them come up from like Slough Jets, even played a bit for the MK Thunder, and then like Basingstoke, and he's made himself up into like the Elite League now.
And
so you see people like that, and also like Lewis Hook as well. So you see all those people developing and going on, but you've got a lot of good high class British players. You just got to look at Leeds Knights as an example there, with Kieran Brown, Matt Hayward, and so on. So I think it's good, and I think they're a lot closer in levels probably.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not going to say no one can beat each other in the Elite League, but it's often the likes of the Steelers, the Giants, the Devils, who's often the past Panthers. Obviously, you know what happened last year, unfortunately, with them. But yeah, it's a lot closer. I mean, you can on the day, anyone can really beat each other more in the national.
Yeah, I think that's what we all love. That it's everyone's competitive. Anyone can beat anyone, and whether you win, lose, or draw, you're still going back to that next game. Well, you can't really draw unless it's a cup game. Last question from me then. I don't know if Charlie or Dan have one. Who is your favourite ever, well, I guess, player you've watched in the National League after watching for many, many years? Who is, if you don't have, if you have a few favourites, you could say, but who is like one which you've just had this drawn to after watching British hockey for the last 20 years?
That's a really hard question. Just ask me anywhere, I would have gone anywhere. I would have just gone Henrik Lundqvist. But in the UK, I'll go back. I always did like more recently. I've really liked Sam Talbot and Sean Norris. I think they've been good youngsters coming up from there. Looking back.
And the old school ones which you love.
Well, in my Lightning days, I mean Gary Clark, he was a top goal scorer and everything for them. He was really good. One from you Wildcats and stuff. I was like, we're going Swedish connection, Hug.
Hoogie,
Yeah, used to like it, watching him and stuff.
He is one of the greatest players to play in our league, so I think that's a good. I'll accept that answer. That's a really good answer, lads. Do you have any other questions?
What makes you go to so many games? We're in the summer. I'm sat there in Turkey on a sunbed, and you're watching some tournament in Sheffield. You don't have off season, Andrew. You watch hockey all year round. What you love all types of hockey, don't you?
Yeah, I agree. I do like a lot of different else, and I would recommend anyone going to see the women's hockey as well. It's good standard and stuff. I know you guys in Sweden got Top Cats there. I think they won their league over there, and got some really good players there. You obviously recognise the name Endicott. We've got Lily playing for them, which is really good. And there's some quite quick reaction, and goals and everything. It's just great sport in total. And I'll even go see I'll watch a few rec games as well. And you'll see some ex-players there. And you get two teams that are reasonably level against each other. You can see a really good game with rec and things with rec or women's hockey. It's often free as well. You can just turn up and just go and see some games and stuff. And I mean, in the summer, I like going because it's just so hot. You can go and cool down in the ice rink as well. So there's that plus as well. But at any level, you can see some really, really good hockey.
Yeah. Wow, you are what we class as the biggest English hockey fan we know. Dan, have you got any questions before we get into the NIHL preview?
Yeah, I got
season
one.
Predictions.
Obviously, we all love going to our away games. The away trips are always the best. So, what's your favourite away trip and what rink and why?
Oh, there's so many crazy rinks you could go for.
Well, I'll give you a few answers on that one. If you stick to the National League,
we'll go for
I did enjoy the time up in Scotland. The going to say, I can't say I like the travelling all the way out there, but it was a good atmosphere. It was a decent rink up in Solway. It was a good trip up there. If we're talking like national, I mean, there's I love little Roger Rangers fan. We can't go wrong. Madison Square Gardens and stuff.
Mate, we went there in December. It was unreal.
Whoa!
And then Swedish wise, obviously, like Scandinavia because of Frölunda, but the Globen there in Stockholm, it's like the great big little ball and everything. It's just like futuristic and look really, really good inside
were they
there.
at the Global Series?
Yeah. I've been there. I've seen some international games there as well.
Oh,
So I love that arena.
yeah. Oh, that's some good picks actually. We need to get some more European games, guys. So, yeah, that's the plan for the future. Pre-season then. We've had the pre-season games. Some teams had 4, some teams had 6. So we had 6, and then I think the Bees had 2 games. Let's get our thoughts after pre-season. I know pre-season doesn't matter too much, but you can take a bit from pre-season. And obviously, we'll start with Swindon, Telford, Bristol. We've watched those 3 teams. Dan, I'll come to you first. Obviously, you watched Bristol this weekend, and you watched the 2 Bristol Swindon games. Who were some of the standouts, and what were some of the takes you got from those games, which may have been different from last season?
Obviously, the obvious one is Ryan Wells. I mean, that guy's going to be unreal this year. I think he's going to be. I think he is the best import D-man and D-man in the league.
Wow.
I'm going to go for it, just from what I've seen from him.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Tommy Napier. That guy's going to be unreal.
I think we're going to talk a bit about him in a bit as well.
Yeah, I think we have to. He's going to be saving a lot of games for Bristol this year. I think it's what they needed. They needed a guy like that. And if they can really get the team going and sort of get the offense going as well, I think they've got a good little something to build from in that. Bricknell's really good. He knows how to find the net. So pretty much all I'm going for is the imports.
That is the change. That's the changes, the main changes.
Yeah, good imports have come in. Going to be a lot more competitive. And I think, just all round, I think there's just going to be a lot more goals as well.
Yeah, Charlie, any takes from pre-season? I don't. I've said it so many times. It's only pre-season. Bristol lose to Slough. It doesn't matter. It's only pre-season. Everything will proper come out when the league starts. But there are little bits you can take. Charlie, anything you've taken?
Well, I'd take the pre-season champions. The unbeaten team, Swindon Wildcats. It's not just pre-season to me. When the Wildcats do well. But no, yeah, it was a fun preseason. I thought the games were really good. We watched Leeds, Sheffield as well.
Yeah,
and I thought all the games were quite competitive. I thought the least competitive games were probably the Telford ones. But I think again it is preseason, getting the legs going, and Telford scored a lot of goals the next weekend. But no, I was really happy with the preseason. I'm a Swindon fan, as we know. And I don't hold back my bias, but we had a great preseason. We played really well. Tyler Perry conceded 1 goal in 2 games. He was phenomenal as a backup in the preseason. And yeah, I think from looking around the league, it gives opportunities to youngsters. I'm sure Andrew will comment on the young Romford goalie who came in and nearly got a shutout. And Bees have just signed a guy who's on now a 2-way because he played really well in a preseason game. So And now we've seen Solway as well. Torren Anderson has signed. So it's cool to see preseason does give opportunities to youngsters and can sometimes actually give players contracts. And so yeah, I'm really happy with Wildcats' preseason. I thought we played really well for 3 of the 4 games. And but I'm a bit bored now. I want the season. I want competitive games. I want them to mean something.
Yeah.
Them stats mean nothing now. Preseason stats are going in the bin. It's for the real deal now.
Yeah, only a couple days. Andrew, what games did you watch in the couple pre-season weeks, and what were some of your thoughts taken from those?
As most people know, I do updates for Raiders. So 3 of the games I saw were Raiders. So the first weekend they were playing Peterborough.
Yep.
The Raiders won. I think it was 6-3. I think at home on Saturday. The new imports looked pretty good. So yeah, Sean Miller and Andrew Sheffield. Yeah. So I think they've generally been playing together as well. So they're working off quite well with each other and stuff. But like you always said, it's still early days in pre-seasons and regarding that. But then at Peterborough, they got shut out basically. And I think it's because Peterborough got ahead and then they played kind of their the Peterborough style. They keep you kind of like
The
you have
Slava
to work
shutdown
against them
style.
and then try and then they'll break on you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah, so yeah, that was split there. My first my first thought on the new Peterborough goalkeeper on the Saturday wasn't that impressed, but then a lot better on the Sunday. So
Yeah,
it was his
shut
first
out on
game,
a
wasn't it, on
Sunday.
Saturday? He's going to take him up. So it's going to take time to warm up, like anyone. So he's probably going to get used to the league and everything. So we'll see that. Then the weekend just gone. They were playing Victor Dynamos.
Yeah, the
So
cross league stuff. There's been quite a few of them. So obviously MK have been playing against Coventry. They also played against, I think it was what country was it?
Essen, so German,
German
Essen
4 League, I
Mosquitoes or
think it
something like
Yeah,
was.
that.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they played
Mosquitoes.
them. German 3, sorry, and then obviously Romford played Invicta, which would have been quite fun as well.
I decided because of the league difference, I thought there might have been a biggish score, which I think if I wasn't there on the Saturday at Gillingham, but I believe they won 10-4 Raiders. Had Windy Bank actually in goal for
Yeah,
Dynamos.
and Connolly was playing for Invicta as well.
He was indeed. So I decided to pop down to MK. I thought,
Oh,
Raiders are going to actually play them this weekend anyway, so get a little head start on that, and also see what the Bees do, because it was the Bees' first pre-season.
yeah,
I think they only had 2 games against MK this weekend, so I thought I'd have a look to see how they fit and their goalies and so on. MK definitely the first period there were all over them. Bees probably a bit of rust from the Bees anyway, from first period and playing and everything. But the Bees did fight quite well down, but it's possible MK had a bit more gears
yeah,
to go up there and stuff. So I think MK are going to be still up there. Obviously, the loss of Herman's going to be
yeah. They
something
got to
there.
make up the points from somewhere.
Yeah. Um, I think didn't see much of County. I thought because I think he could be someone from who's been playing in the elite league
Yeah.
more recently. Could find something in there. I think maybe
What was Spadder? What was Spadder for like? Because he come in, he's like 6'2", isn't he? He's quite a physical presence.
game I saw. Okay, I still think he needs probably time to settle in
Yeah,
and stuff. I think maybe 2 players. I think maybe could possibly step up, and I thought is Rutkiss and I think maybe if he can stay fit, Harry Gulliver.
yeah.
Um, he was actually man of the match anyway.
He's got a big
MK.
role to play this season, hasn't he?
So I think if they can get them firing and stuff, I think yeah they'll be thereabout. Um, Bees, I think anyone you can just the usual go Gabba Ballast and
They're
stuff. You can see
competitive.
them running. You can see them running it again and stuff for them. Yeah, I think again it was their first game, so it's pretty hard to tell. But I
Yeah,
think
it's one of them where it's pre-season. Like I said on Twitter and Facebook, it's a chance for the players to kind of find their feet again, get in a match situation, feel the physicality back of the league, let out all the errors as well. I'm sure there's a couple mistakes throughout the weekend across all the teams. We did see a few partnerships though. I thought I would bring it up. Lackinen and Ferrara. Down they were smashing in the goals like they were in Coventry. I think on that 6-0 game against Romford, I think it was Ferrara scoring 4 goals, Lackinen assisted all 4 goals. It's just, I think that is going to be, and especially with the injuries actually to Spears and
Foster.
Jasper Foster, which is absolutely gut wrenching, by the way. Coming back from that big injury for Spears and then getting injured again for another 4 to 6 weeks. I do feel for him, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. And it's so frustrating for Slava. I know we had Slava on and he was talking about the injuries, not being able to play your lines, but they've had to bring Glossop back, I think. So Yeah, but I think that top line is going to have to be doing a lot of carrying, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. I think that top line got combined of 21 points over the weekend. I think nearly every goal was obviously from them. Yeah, I think we knew what Ferrara and Lackinen was going to be like. We obviously knew that they were going to have that partnership, and it was just all about a guy that they were going to put with them.
Yeah.
And I think putting Cameron, I might butcher his name, How?
It's either Howe or Hugh. I'm not sure
It's
which
Hugh.
one it is.
We'll go with Hugh. That sounds right. Put him with him, and he seems to have fit in really well.
Yeah.
He's definitely a finisher. So if you're putting Ferrara and obviously Hugh as well, both finishers with Lackinen, the perfect playmaker, you're going to get points from that. So I think Slava's really going to have to build his lines well. But I think that's a locked-in line already so far.
Yeah. With the Yorkshire Cup, Hull won the Yorkshire Cup. And Davy Phillips played his first weekend with the Seahawks this weekend, and I think he was a very big physical presence because we were told by a couple of fans who were watching the game that he made a big check on Kieran Brown. And we're not sure if Kieran Brown, he went off the ice. So be interesting to see if he comes back for this weekend because they have got Milton Keynes this weekend. So that's a big whopping game to start with, first against second from last season. But yeah, that's pretty much all we can really chat about pre-season. There's only so much you can talk about. The action starts on Friday, but I think it's a nice little warm up for fans to see their team, see other teams as well. This season, then let's get on to the predictions part. We'll go through, I guess, from top of the league down to middle, and then battling for playoffs. And Charlie, I'm going to start with you. We're going to start with near the bottom of the league, the teams who are going to be battling for playoffs. But we've talked through all the specials, how even if they are a team battling for playoffs, it's not necessarily a bad season. It means that's their level at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, teams are at different places, rosters are at different points, and we see some rosters prove teams wrong.
Yeah.
These last year, I think pretty much everyone predicted them to finish dead bottom, and they made playoffs. Yeah, teams finish higher than you think and lower than you think. So yeah, but as I am as a fan, I will be honest and bold with what I predict, the positions I predict teams to be in. And I'm guessing not everyone is here, I don't think, but I know me and Dan are going to predict position by position for each team, which I'm sure everyone will be loving. But yeah, predictions are fun. I find them fun. They're good. They're enjoyable. I like getting proven wrong. So all the teams which prove us wrong at the end of the year, we laugh at and we say fair play.
Yeah, I think when we make these predictions, we can only go off really the rosters, really on the level of the rosters and how we think the teams can play with each other. Dan, we'll start with you then. Who do you think the teams are going to be who's battling at the bottom? Do you think it will be similar to last season and battling for that playoff spot?
I think so we're going for all three at the bottom.
Well, the three teams, I think we're going to have a common theme of 4 to 5 teams who are going to be in and around that playoff spot.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Bees are definitely going to be around that playoff spot. Obviously, they made it last year, but I think this season's going to be a bit tougher for them. I think they've lost a few big pieces to their team.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've lost Harvey Stead, Doughty, Brendan Baird, a few key D-men.
Bradley.
And Bradley, of course. And I think it's just they've got a bit of a big turnaround in their team this year. And I think they're sort of, you can see what they're doing, bringing in the youngsters and sort of trying to build it again, if you know what I mean, to try and build that identity, I guess you could call it, for what they want.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely going to be battling for that spot. Another team is obviously going to be Bristol. They're going to be battling. They're sort of the same scenario, really. They're sort of rebuilding a new identity again.
It's one of them. It's one of them. Andrew, I'm interested to ask about this. Obviously, last season Bristol, it wasn't a great season for them. They struggled quite a lot. There was a lot of off ice stuff as well. Players leaving. Do you think Bristol have taken the right kind of idea of moving a lot of players on, and they've brought in quite a young core, which is going to kind of develop over the next few years.
I think they had to do something. Time will obviously tell how well they did do. Some players, obviously, I think they were lost, like lingering for them. Time will tell. I think, yeah, but I don't think they're going to probably make playoffs this year. But you know, they might surprise us. I think Tyler Della Baruch is a good young netminder. Still needs plenty of games and everything. But yeah, well, I think if they can stick with that team for a couple of seasons and maybe just gain on some lines, gain some experience and everything, there could be something there.
Yeah, I think Napier is the main talk, Charlie, and I think if they're gonna win games, they need to be able to let less goals in, and that's what they've done. They've brought in the import goalkeeper, obviously Norton going to Sheffield. We saw Napier this weekend. He is a big lad. He fills the goal, and one thing that impressed me the most, and there's a lot of things which impressed me about him. He saved 49 of 53 shots on the Saturday. And obviously he come in on the Sunday. And he's so good at those initial saves, the catching, everything which you expect a team which is going to face 40 to 50 shots a night. That's the perfect goalkeeper to have in goal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they've signed him to do. His pedigree speaks for itself, and he played really well on the weekend. You can't expect him to save 49 shots a night.
No.
That's too much. But what I quite liked about Napier, I think my favorite thing is he knows he's good. And to be honest, he knows he's too good for this league. Napier, a guy with his CV, shouldn't really be in the National League. It's an elite league CV. And so he has got a big challenge on his hands at times in some games, like Saturday. 53 shots in 3 periods is too much for a goalie, but he was able to cope with it. And I think it's a fun one, and I hope he's able to stay the full year, and there's no any leaving. And I think he's one of them goalies who gives Bristol a chance in games, and I think in them games where maybe they're playing the lower end teams, the Bees, the Solways, the Romfords, I think Napier will be tough to beat, and he'll really lock in. So yeah, I think that's the thing Bristol have got, and obviously they were missing their captain this weekend in Tanner, who's a big import D man, and so yeah, I think there's definitely teams, and you look at the teams at the lower end, and they have their strengths, and Bristol's big strength is their goalie. He is very, very good.
Yeah, if he can keep the game where he concedes 2 or 3, Bristol just need to score. Like, I know it sounds basic, but if he can keep the score down, Bristol just need to get that more goals. I know that sounds so basic. Solway Sharks, they missed. Sorry, I didn't know how to explain it properly. But I think he's going to win more games personally. Because he's going to be able to win games single-handedly for them by keeping the puck out of the back of the net. I think that's what they've brought him in to do. And I just think in general as well, they might not have as good player-to-player roster as last season, but it's not all about that. I think it's a different vibe at Bristol. And I don't think they will get playoffs, I'll be honest. I don't think they will. But if they have a chance at getting playoffs, it's because Napier's gonna win them games single-handedly. Dan, Solway Sharks, they missed out narrowly on the playoffs last year. Obviously, Solway was our last team special. Do you think they're going to make it this season? Obviously, I'm putting you on the spot, but do you think they're going to get that playoff spot this season?
Yeah, I think so. I think they are.
Because you were your unpopular opinion last season was they won't make it, but you think they will this season.
Yeah, I think they're going to do it this season. The thing is, last season they were so close. Like, they were so close, and to do that in your first year in the National League, I think that's so good. And this season, what they've done, like we said in the Solway special, is they've built on what they've got and just improved in a few little bits.
Yeah,
and they've obviously brought in some really strong youngsters, like we spoke about. And I think this mentality around the dressing room is going to be that playoffs. Now they've got the mentality of their first season in the National League at their mind. I think they're going to be going in more confident, and they're going to have that playoffs in their head for the whole year. And I think 100% they're going to make the playoffs this year, because I think just in the dressing room, like we said, is like the minimum is playoffs, and they're going to be going out there every night, and they're just going to be trying to get that bit of consistency going and just see what they can do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big battle. I think we've had chats, Charlie. It's going to be a big battle between Solway and Romford, because one of those is probably, unless they both get it, they both could get it, and another team might not get playoffs. But I think those two in particular are around this similar level. And Solway have brought in Jordan Marr, and I think that's a really big acquisition to help them get playoffs, because they lost 13 games by 1 goal. He's going to win them a couple of those games which they lost, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. I think Jordan Marr's a big acquisition. And their defense and goalie, as we said in the preview for Solway, is their biggest strength. Yeah, I think I'll save who I'm putting where for when we do that at the end. But
Okay.
we'll save that at the end. But we'll go for each team. Yeah, I think Solway look really good. And yeah, they've got some players at the top end. Which need to step up the points with Peacock's miss. This is the same way MK are missing Herman now.
Yeah.
Solway are missing Peacock, but I think Solway will concede less goals this year, so that will make up for some of the goals they don't score, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Andrew, obviously you've been watching Romford the last couple seasons, probably more Romford games than any other teams. They've had a big switch up this summer. Obviously, new coach, a lot of players have moved on. They've brought in some players. They've got some really good imports as a trio. Leishram's the player coach. How do you see this season going with Romford? Do you think it's going to be quite a different season to last?
I think they're going to be playing very different. I'll be Adam Leishram got a big influence over it, and be probably putting a bit more his stamp on it. His way, and also brought 2 Canadian imports as well in, so there's going to probably be a lot of that influence there. I listened to some of your specials, well, especially the Raiders one, and agree with basically what you were saying, that obviously the likes of Anderson and Sylvester are your key Brits there, with those imports out there. After seeing them, I was actually pretty impressed with Mike Wilson. He looked he's he played a bit for Tigers, but he's got some played over in Sweden as well.
He's got a bigger role this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he could make a little bit of a difference and fight for maybe going up a few lines and stuff in over time. You can have the people like Ranson and just probably being your third line and stuff, but he's going to just get under people's skins and everything, and just and give the higher guys the break when they're out. I think I'm not going to say seeing them like rushing up the table and everything. I think they're going to be fighting for that sort of that 7th and 8th again. If you ask me for a bit, I can't really disagree too much with what other people have been saying there. I think getting Pitbulls and Bees are probably not going to make it, and then that sort of 7th, 8th, and 9th are going to be between Raiders, maybe Tigers and Sharks.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
It's a big change for Romford, and it'll be interesting because we've said they've got a lot of top end talent, but they've lost quite a few big players. Like Gomesic was a very defensive import. You've obviously lost Mikey Power. He played in D quite a lot. You've lost Wells as well. You've then got the flip side that they've got a lot of really good young talent coming through, and you've got like a different outlook on it. So I think the Romford games are going to be some of the most entertaining games with some of the players they got in the team, some players needing to step up. But there are going to be some mistakes as well, I think, with some of those younger guys. But as you said, Andrew, I think the battle between Romford, Solway and Telford is going to be very, very interesting, just like last season as well. Dan, Telford, obviously we watched them. Obviously we don't take too much from pre-season, but I think it will take a bit of time for some of those new guys to gel in the team, won't it? But Yokoyama, actually, I will say, he scored a couple goals this weekend, and he didn't play the first season of pre-season.
Yeah. I didn't. Obviously, I wasn't there for the Telford weekend, so I haven't actually watched him yet. But just going from what people have been saying, it seems like I think they just need to get some gel. They just need to gel a few lines together. Obviously, they've brought some good imports in. Yokoyama, like you just said, really good. He's shown what he can do, and I think he just got to keep growing on that, and just
Sorry, Andrew's just put in the chat. He's got. He'll be back in a sec. If you're wondering where he's gone, carry on, Dan.
He's done a Charlie.
He's just ditched us. No, I'm joking. Carry on.
You've obviously he's shown what he can do. I think he's going to be really happy that he scored, obviously, in his first game. I think coming up from the league that he was in, I think it's a big jump, but I think it's going to give him that confidence to really push himself even more this year. And I think you said, obviously, Skaleski, he didn't really show a lot.
It's one of them where I think he's quite a small guy. He's coming into a very physical league in the National League, which is a lot of just English players. Yes, they might not be as technically skilled as Skaleski, but they're just going to push him. They're going to get in his way. And he might not be able to show his skill yet, but I think with time we're going to see a very skillful Skaleski. So I think that will take a bit of time, and it'll be interesting.
I mean, look at his CV. Like he's not going to come into this league and not do well. You know what I mean? Like he's going to do well. He's just going to be one of them slow burners that are going to take a bit of time to get going. A bit like Gardner last season, I think. He's just really, and then when he gets going, he's going to be really, really dangerous. And then you've obviously got a few youngsters as well. They're sort of going to be coming up and sort of going to be getting those chances and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for them. And I think it's just going to be about building the youngsters up and really getting the confidence going throughout the team and going for that playoff push again.
They always seem to make Cov, though. That's the thing with Telford. They might finish 6th, 7th the last few seasons, but they'll always make Coventry. And you can never rule out a Tommy Watkins Coventry push, as he always does. Never doubt them. Moving up then, obviously, Sheffield, I forgot to mention them. They missed the playoffs last season. And it's a very different team this season. Obviously, we've done a whole podcast talking about the two ways with the Steelers, but also the Scimitars as well. A very different team. It'll be interesting. I think, and this is just my opinion, all right? And I'm sure Charlie, Dan, and Andrew can give theirs. I think when a new thing happens, such as Solway, a new thing happened with them coming in the league, everyone gets hyped up about it. I think the hype is valid, but I don't know if they can get a whole new team. I know they've kept some players and compete at the top. And I could be wrong. If they go and compete and win this league, I will shake every one of them hand. I really will. But I don't think they're going to win the league.
I think their problem is going to have settled lines because they're showing players with Steelers.
Yeah, they do. So that's a good point. Andrew, that's a good point. So they've obviously got a lot of new lines and not a lot of new players who are going to be up and down the systems. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to consistently pull out results with different lines like a Leeds, MK, Swindon, who have a consistent squad. But I still think they'll be able to compete in a lot, like in those top games, if you know what I mean.
I've heard, we've done this 2 years in a row. We had Hull when they first joined the league, when they had Svek and Thamar, and everyone predicted them to be really high up the league. And then we have Bristol, and I think Sheffield are different. They've got a better squad on paper. But they're always going to have a player with the Steelers, which is never going to be easy unless the Steelers aren't playing. And I think we saw a little preview of what can happen if it goes wrong when they get a couple injuries and there's a guy playing for Steelers.
Well, Bjorkley Nordstrom's out injured, so
it's not easy. And I know it sounds silly, but you've almost got to think of it as whenever the Steelers are playing, technically they've got an injury, if you know what I mean. But if the team really can gel together and they have breakout players, they can challenge. And we saw on the Leeds-Sheffield game, pardon me, when they're fully fit, they're going to be really strong. They're going to challenge any team. Yeah, I think Sheffield are the one I can't really predict. I will predict them, but they're really hard to predict.
What I will say is a lot of people who've worked in and around Sheffield, and I'll use Jamie as an example. He's not predicting. Now, I don't know his reason why he's not throwing a prediction out there. Maybe it's because he's working with the club, and that's fair enough. But I think one of the big reasons is we just don't know. they could overperform for what people might think, but they could underperform to what some other people might predict. So I think Sheffield's a big unknown, and everyone I've spoken to, banners on the wall as well. Everyone I've spoken to has said they just don't really know what could happen to Sheffield. They've got such a high ceiling with the players and the talent they've got, Dan, but it could also, we've seen it so many times in this league with a new team, jumbled up lines some weeks, players going up and down. We've seen that sometimes it doesn't work out properly.
Yeah, I think Andrew got it spot on. I think if they can get those steady lines going and really get those lines sort of, it's going to be tough just not having those regular lines. But if they can deal with that well,
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay because they have got some really really talented players. Like we saw it in that Leeds game. Like we saw how talented those players were. Obviously Halfords, for an example, he's going to be unbelievable. Like he impressed me so much as the game went on. He just got better and better. And if they can get those steady lines and just sort of get everyone gelling together, I think they'll be okay. But it's just going to be how they manage that and sort of how they go about it.
I think they're going to be, if I'm going to make a prediction on them, because I don't know if I'm going to be doing official predictions, but if I had to make a prediction on them, I think they're going to be battling for that top four. If their ceiling's quite high, they're going to be battling for that top four, and they're going to try and get to Coventry as well and see if they can push for the cup in those first 10 games. So I think realistically, I don't think fans should expect them to be competing with the likes of Swindon, MK, and Leeds, because I think they're a new project and this is the first season of it. So that's what my prediction is. And if they do win the league, then fair enough. That is some achievement if they do manage to do it, or even win a cup. I think if they win a cup as well, that would be a big achievement. Andrew, Peterborough Phantoms winning the playoffs. I assume you didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't see that coming. I'll just go back to Sheffield. Just one thing I'll mention also about Sheffield,
Yeah.
though, is Simidra is a big loss.
Oh, yeah,
I think
good
the
point. Yeah.
goalkeeping there, he's one of, I think, has been one of the good goalkeepers in our league.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, after Gospel and stuff, but yeah, that'd be one thing. Peterborough. They've had a few changes. Obviously, Captain Weldon's moved on.
Yeah.
Import
goalie,
obviously, are, and it's, well, I've already said my things about the new netminder. It's seen one good performance and one bad, so you have to see on that. So he's obviously going to be a big key to it. But they've got the main core there. Their defense is good with the likes of Norton and Bowering and everything.
Yeah,
they're good there. You never know, Slava, do you?
no.
I mean, they won the other cup the year before, didn't they, as well, against Leeds and
against
stuff.
Leeds as well.
So they're always good, and I think they've done well with the imports. And someone mentioned earlier about the Cam. Well, we were trying to decide how to pronounce that, how whatever.
Cam Hugh, we'll say.
Yeah, but I've got to say he looked quite good against Raiders as well. When I saw him, nearly gave him man of the match. It was just because he picked up a few penalties in the last period is why he didn't, probably. But
I gotta say, I gotta say, I think Peterborough are going to be one of the teams who finish in the top four in the 10 games. I think they will. I just think the fact that top line's clicking as much as it is, I think that is going to win them a lot of games at the start. And if those guys at the top are clicking, and some other teams might take a few weeks to click, because you got to be on it straight from the start. It's only 10 games. I think there's going to be a couple shocks in there. And I don't think it would be a shock to see Peterborough. But I think they're in and about one of Peterborough, Hull, there's going to be teams who are missing out, big teams who are missing out on that cup. But I do think Peterborough will be one to make that cup. Whether it comes end of season and they're competing for the league, I'm not sure they've quite got enough to compete for the league. Again, if they do win the league, I would be very, very surprised because of the amount of injuries they keep getting, which does ruin the squad depth. But I think if the import goalie can really pull off a madness, and that top line can carry the whole season, then you never know. But I think if they're definitely going to be competing for a trophy. Dan, what do you reckon with Peterborough? It's a tough one because we know him quite a lot as being a cup team, and they've never been able to really go for it for the league?
Yeah, I think again, like obviously like Andrew said again, we know what Slava can do. He can make these players that are just like average turn into absolute wonder skaters, and like he's just such a good coach of them, and it just I don't know. I think they've done well this off season. I think the players that they've brought in, I think they've done really good with that. I think losing Bjorkley Nordstrom is going to be really tough on them. I think that's going to be really hard because he definitely had a big role in that team, and I think they were sort of building that team around having him there.
Yeah.
And to lose him when they did was sort of a bit tough because they didn't really get a chance to replace him. And
you can't. One thing I will say, you can't win a league off one line, and
yeah,
I think them losing Nordstrom means that they kind of go top line heavy to really get the goals. Whereas if they'd have managed to get Nordstrom, you've then got a top and second line which is equally as strong. But I think it's going to be so top line heavy. And if you look at Leeds, they're not just top line heavy. They've got the depth as well across the team. So I think it'll be an interesting one with Peterborough. How much are they going to have to rely on their top line?
yeah. I think bringing in Salem and like Palmer was really good. I think they'll work really well in Peterborough. Just having those guys that can grind you games, just go out there and do their hardest every shift. I think that's going to be really really good for Peterborough because they love grinding out games and just sort of defense first and just sort of getting those players that aren't going to be afraid to go into those battles. And I think it's all just going to be depend on how they go when they go out there and how Slava coaches them and what they want them to do. And it's all going to be like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went deep in the cup and went nearly to the playoffs again. It just wouldn't surprise me with Peterborough because we know what they can do and we know what they're capable of.
Yeah, in those one-off games, they are very tough to beat. Charlie, the whole Seahawks. I'm gonna mention one name. Do you think this could be the difference of them possibly challenging for the league? Which I thought they did quite well last season. Actually, they finished fourth. But Declan Balmer. That is a huge loss, and I know they've brought in Davy Phillips, but from last season they are losing over 100 points from their back line of Barmer and Bartholomew. So do you think that's going to have an effect going into next season?
It's not points from D. I don't
Yeah,
think
of course. I'm just using it as a
Hull are
stat.
going to have a struggle of points. I think they've got points flowing through that team, and I think their third line looks unreal as well. I think forward core wise, top 3 in the league, potentially top 2. For me, Leeds obviously is in the top 2. And then it's a debate between whose would you rather have, Hulls or Milton Keynes. And points wise, I think I'd probably go Hulls. Because you've got Sobchak in there, full year of him. Davy Phillips will be a massive help on the back end. But for me, for them to challenge to the league, there's a Deck Barmer sized hole. I think we would have seen Deck Barmer play with Davy Phillips. And if that would have been the case, I think that would have rocked up 30-35 minutes of ice time a night, and they would have been able to do that. And I think they'll still do very well. And I think they could prove us wrong and challenge for the league. But I think they look slightly weaker on the defensive D area. But they've got 2 great goaltenders, and they've got a big game goaltender in Zamodra. But as we've just seen, McLaughlin can concede 1 pass leads with like 45 shots. But yeah, I'm really excited for Hull this year. I think they've added what they needed. I think adding someone like Huey into that lineup is big. He's an older player who adds a different style of play. And what I find interesting about Hull is you've got their top line, which is just like, gross. And then they've got their second line, which is like kind of a different style of gross. And Lee Bonner had a slow year last year, and I think he probably picked up about 12 points in pre-season. So it doesn't look like he's going to be slow this year. And Owen Bruton as well. Whew, he's going to have a year, man. He looked like he was going to have fun in pre-season. So that top 6, it ain't set in stone, I don't think. I don't think Bruton will want to be on third line the whole year.
No. Andrew, you mentioned one name leaving Sheffield, which is big for them, and that's Samostra. He has joined Hull. How do you see Hull going next year? Obviously, They made the final last year of the Cup. I thought they gave that a really, really good go, and I don't think many people saw that come in. This year, do you think they've got an even better chance at the Cup? Because I actually think they could be a very big Cup team this year.
I'd agree. I think I've got them fight. I think it's going to be hard for Leeds not to win it again, but I think Hull's going to be fighting up there, sort of second, third, league-wise. But with the cups, I think they could go the extra step with the cup. Also do well in the playoffs. I think one of the things, getting some injuries is going to be. Cause I think Jordan McGotlin's a really good goalkeeper.
Oh yeah,
but
love Jordan.
I just think maybe he just needed to be rested a few times last year. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so Midra's going to be the perfect for there, and they can share a bit of the load there and stuff. And I think that's brilliant. Got to totally agree with Charlie though. The defense is the little bit. I think it's just got a little bit weaker, but I think net minding and the forward lines have improved. And last year, Hull probably one of my favourite teams to watch. Just the style they play, all the attacking talent they have, and I don't think that'll change this year either.
Yeah, I think they're going to score a lot of goals. We might see something in my predictions in those quick fire questions at the end. But yeah, I could definitely see them winning a cup this season. I really could. And we'll see how that goes. I know it's a massive hole, as Charlie said, a deck Barmer size hole. And I think Matty's actually said he's still trying to look for someone to replace or who can try and replace that. So there's still going to be changes made in that season. I think, is it up until January, Dan?
Yeah, January, I'm pretty
January,
sure.
you can still bring in some players. If there's a couple Elite League boys who want to drop down, I think if there's any defensemen, Hull is a really good place to go to. The top three of last season.
Swindon as well. I've heard Swindon's a good spot.
Well, we'll get on to them because the top three, and in third place was Swindon last season. And Dan, Swindon was an interesting one because it was kind of a write-off year for the league because we didn't have a rink for the first 4 months. And they've changed it up massively. They've gone with an import defenseman, which they haven't done before since the EPIHL days. And they've also brought in another defenseman in Ed Bradley, and Wells and Bradley is their top pair now. So it's like having a whole new top pair added on to Bebris, Blues, and then Godfrey and Jamie Smith. Obviously, we have lost a few points in that forward core from last season with Cowley, Colby, Gale. But after watching them the last couple weekends, obviously you watched them last weekend, we could see a very different Swindon, couldn't we?
I think the biggest thing for Swindon this year is their defence. I think defence is what wins you those big games. Sort of those games that Swindon have struggled in the past few years. Maybe in that playoff game last season, if you had that defence that you had this year, it might have been a different story. Just having, like I say, defence is the one that wins you games. If you can stop the pucks going in your net, just takes the pressure off those forwards a little bit more. They can they don't have to be going out and scoring loads of goals, sort of win games. You can shut down games and you can just manage games a lot better with a defence like that. But also you've got the point scoring D as well from Bradley. Obviously, I don't think we've seen as much offense as Wales can give this year. I think he's obviously going to have to get comfortable and really show what he can do offensively after a few games. But yeah, like you said, you've brought in one new import forward, and then the rest have just been D. And I think the focus point is going to be the defence this year.
Charlie, we got to ask you, Swindon this season, what do you reckon? Different kind of outlook to it. We've made some changes, but I have to say, I think they're really positive changes.
Yeah, we have the best decor in the league. I believe that strongly. Wales looked phenomenal in pre-season, and his CV speaks for itself. He scored 16 points in the U Sports, made it to the playoff semi-final of the U Sports, led the league in takeaways. So he's phenomenal. And then you've got Ed Bradley, who is his first time playing for a big club, and I think you'll see a different Ed Bradley. every single game you play for Swindon is a must-win game, and I think that's exciting for Ed Bradley, and I think he's hit that point of his career where he needs that. So yeah, I think I'm really excited for Swindon. I think we've lost a couple offensive pieces. We've lost Cowley, Gale, and Colby, but it means that our top six is more set in stone. I think we kind of know what our top six will be, and I think that can be a positive at times. We've seen with Leeds over the last couple of years, they know what their top six is. It's not changing around, and they know what their third line is. So lines do get chemistry. And so yeah, it'll be interesting. There's obviously some question marks. But I'm really happy of Swindon's off season, and I'm really excited for the year to start.
It'll be interesting because obviously we're playing at home from the start, and I think it'll be a big season for Rennie as well. And he's got this big decor in front of him now, and he's going to have a season like Headley and Gospel, and I think that will lead to a trophy win this season if we can get to that level. From an outsider point of view, Andrew, obviously you haven't we haven't watched Swindon this season, but were you surprised with Swindon going with the import defenseman, or do you think after watching us at Coventry and a few games against Romford as well, where we've kind of let a few too many goals in, do you think it was the right move?
I think Aaron Nell's done good with his with who he signed. I think your defence was the weakest area. You've got a decent netminder in Rennie. You've got some good people up front. Obviously, Charlie's favourite Maleski, so obviously scoring all the time. Now one of the best British forwards out there. Maybe balance could possibly improve a little bit. Maybe
it's a big season
decent,
for him,
but I think maybe a little bit there. But you guys, and then you got your new imports, which obviously you guys seen them. Well, I haven't seen, but what I've heard, I think Britnell looks quite could be quite good.
He knows where the back of the net is.
So yeah, on that side of things. But yeah, I think I've always been quite impressed with Ed Bradley. He was good bees and stuff. Obviously, he still put points at Bristol, but obviously, Bristol didn't have a great year, obviously. But so I think you've done well getting in there. And then I think you've definitely improved. Obviously, having the rink from the start of the year is going to help a little bit, but I don't take that as an excuse. Just take the Swindon Top Cats. They won the league and the playoffs for them. So they had the same issue. So I'm not buying that one. But I think you'll do better this year.
Nice one. The top two then, Leeds and Milton Keynes, the two that have been battling it out the last couple seasons. Leeds getting the upper hand in both seasons. Obviously, Milton Keynes did win their first trophy last season, which I think is a big mentality thing for them going into this season, that they can win something. But it is a lot of change, isn't there, Dan, to Milton Keynes? They've lost Rory Herman. They've lost a couple of D-men, but they've brought in Spadafor, and I think just like Swindon, this is what they've needed: an import defenseman. They've got enough offensive talent, and if that can start clicking and they can find the right lines, I think that'll be fine. They don't need to worry about goals, but it's the defense and those away rinks and shutting games down in those away rinks. And I think the big question will be whether Spadafor can take on that big load.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, last year their team on paper was unbelievable. And the only thing that ruined it for them was their consistency. They really struggled in those away games. That was what really cost them last year. And I think, like you say, bringing that import D-man, I think that's going to bring such a big difference to how they play in those away rinks. He's just going to be able to just have that. I don't know, just have that guy at the back that he'll just shut down games on his own, and the whole team will follow. Obviously, you've got some really good offensive D-men there, and I think you needed that stay-at-home big import D-man that can throw the body and stuff like that, especially in those smaller rinks. He's going to love it, throwing the body around. Having that long reach as well, it's going to be really helpful for him. And obviously, we know Herman's going to be a big miss. But they've got the players that are going to be able to fill in for him. You know what I mean? Like, they might not be able to get a guy that can single-handedly get as much points as Herman, but as a team, I think they'll be able to make up for those points that they're going to be missing from obviously bringing in Cowney, especially.
Here is a big stat for you. I think you're going to like this one, Andrew. And I think this is the reason why, as well as they are a very, very good team, but this is the reason why Leeds have won the league the last 2 seasons. Leeds have won. Right, actually, I'll ask you because I don't think I've asked you, Dan and Andrew. How many games out of 70? So they've played 70 games against the lower teams who finished in the table. So the lower teams in the table, I think it's the bottom 5 or 6. They have played 70 games against them the last 2 seasons. How many of those 70 games do you think they've won and lost? Dan, I'll start with you.
What? So how many points do you think they've dropped?
So out of 70 games, have they gone 65-5? Have they gone 60-10? How many do you reckon they've won and lost?
And this is Leeds, yeah?
Leeds, yeah. The last couple seasons against the bottom 5 teams, I think it is, in the league.
I reckon they've lost. I reckon go 6 games out of 70. I'll go.
So 64-6, yeah?
Yeah,
Andrew, what do you reckon?
I haven't done this.
Oh, I'm Charlie, then I'll ask you as well.
I'm trying to think. I know they lost one to they definitely lost one to Solway. Remember that. But
I'll go 3.
You reckon they've lost 3? Okay, so you reckon 67
that's
and
probably
3,
not
yeah?
far out, to be fair. Well, I'll probably go about 5.
So 65-5.
Yeah.
They've won 68 out of 70 games against the bottom 5 teams in the last 2 seasons. And those 2 games, one of them, which you mentioned, Andrew, against Solway, that was in overtime. And then the other game, I can't remember which one it is, but 68 out of 70 games. That is why they've won the league the last 2 seasons against those. They just get it done against those bottom teams. And that's something which I think Milton Keynes have struggled on. And why do you think that is, Charlie? Because it isn't just about the talent they've got. There's more to it, isn't there?
I think it's style of play at times, and it's nothing on Milton Keynes' style of play, but they play quite a big rink, spacious style of play. And I think sometimes they struggle in the scrappier end of games. And I think it's very harsh critiquing Milton Keynes because in a normal league, I think they probably win it. But you have had this crazy team, Leeds, which have just dominated the bottom teams, like you said. And so yeah, I think if you're being very critical on Milton Keynes, because they have been so good, is away form in smaller rinks. They go to Romford. Andrew would have seen it a lot. We watched them in Slough and they took it to OT and they did win. But
no, they lost. You keep getting this wrong. They lost on penalties. Yeah.
They lost on penalties, but in a very harsh way, you can't lose them games if you want to win the league. You have to win them games. You have to show Slough that you're that you're the better team, and you've got to go to Romford and you've got to say, we're here. We're unreal. Thank you for the 2 points. And that's what Leeds do. And so if you really want to compete with Leeds, unless Leeds do drop their level, which some may think they will, some may not, you have to dominate teams wherever you go and not just in your own rink. But yeah, it's so tough to figure out. But I think the import D-men should help with that. Conceding some of them sloppier goals, or maybe when you have a patch where you concede 2 in an away game. Spatterthorpe, out you go. Solder, sit next to him. Just calm down for 5 minutes, everybody.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it'd be interesting. But I think Tim Wallace we've seen with Aaron over the years. I have anyway. He improves as a coach each year, and he learns to adapt in the National League, and Oldie is a massive veteran when it comes to this league. Well, the second tier of English hockey, whereas Wallace is a newbie compared to Aldridge.
Yeah.
And so I think each year Wallace improves his coaching, and he'll get better, and he'll learn how to play in, to be honest, rinks which you never see in Canada in Slough. And Bristol have got a tiny neutral zone, and Peterborough. So yeah, I think it's just trying to dog out games more for me. It's just what player, and I think Sisters helps with that, and I'm sure County can as well. But don't play pretty hockey, just play hockey which wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when I talk about Leeds beating those bottom teams, they do beat the top teams as well. It's not like they're just winning the league, so they're beating the bottom teams. They do beat the top teams. And Andrew, if I said this to Charlie and Dan, if someone had told you, Milton Keynes won 26 out of their 27 home games, you'd assume that they won the league. But it is those away games for teams at the top which you do need to win. And I think that's what Leeds have done so well at kind of. They've got their way of playing, but they can adapt it on those rinks, can't they? And you've seen, I don't Romford didn't beat them last season.
Well, we beat them in the playoffs in the last game. Raiders did, yeah, they're different. They know their rink. They know how that works and everything and stuff. I was there for the one and only loss when they played the Hull, and Hull were just playing their usual outward attack and everything, and they just got the odd couple goals more, and played brilliantly in that respect. But no, I don't know if they just get a bit tired. Anything maybe in a little bit of defence last year. Headley was out for a little while. Coney's decent, but I wouldn't say as good as Headley. Yeah, that's where they got to learn. I can't disagree with anyone else what said. It's the away form.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken about our Leeds a bit. We're not going to do too much explanation now, but I know Charlie and Dan, you're probably going to want to do your 1 to 11, and Andrew, if you want to do your predictions as well. But Dan, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to win the league?
I'm going to go with MK Lightning.
Oh, he's going with Milton Keynes. You think they'll do it this season?
Yeah, I think they're going to do it.
Nice one. Charlie, who's going to win the league this season?
We're starting from the top. Swindon Wildcats.
Well, honestly.
Yeah, I do. I think defense wins you leagues. I think offensively we look amazing, and I always back my boys. And I really love the team this year. I really do. I think people think Malas will take a step back. I don't. I think people think now will take a step back. I think now Malas will have better years. I think we've got the best British centre in the league in Glenn Billing. Well, I say all-round centre. And I think we've got a new import who can really take on that role. And I love our top six. I love our third line. And then don't get me started on the defence. We've got a pair, Tyler Plews and Bebris, who I strongly, genuinely believe would be every team's top defence pair, bar two. And that's our second D pair. I'm so confident in our defence this year to win out games. And I'm always backing my boys. I'm never backing anyone else's. I don't do this. Oh, no. Swindon are going for it this year. We're a good
Andrew, who do you think, from a neutral fan, a hockey lover, who do you think is gonna get the league title this season? Do you think Leeds are gonna do the three-peat?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be boring and say Leeds. No,
It's not boring.
I think that they've got the thing that they've proved it. Sam Goswell's just probably the best in the net, and I think the addition of Matt Basonet is a great addition. I've always thought he's one of the better imports and stuff, and I think him setting up the likes of Kieran and stuff, they're still going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, I think it is between Swindon, MK and Leeds. If you held a gun to my head and said who's going to win the league, I would go the Milton Keynes Lightning. I think they'll do it this season. I think the D is going to tighten up in those away games. I don't know if Leeds can go on this crazy run again this season. I'm not saying they're not going to win loads of games, but I think there's a few more losses in there. I don't think they're going to 6-0 Peterborough. I don't know if they will do that this season. But yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds win it, and I'd love it if Swindon won it. That would be unbelievable. Who do you reckon then, Charlie and Dan? Second, third, fourth. What are you going with, Dan?
Right.
No explanations. We just got to go for it now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to remember what I said. I haven't got a bit of paper on me, so it's coming straight from my head.
So you put Milton Keynes top.
Yeah, it's the second I'm going to put Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Third, I'll put Hull. Fourth, I'll put Swindon.
Okay.
And then is that Another one?
Yeah,
Or-
no, let's finish it.
That's fine. Go on,
Yeah.
go on, Charlie.
Second, I'll put Leeds. Third, I'll put Milton Keynes, and fourth, I'll put Hull.
Okay, and is that similar for you, Andrew, as well?
I'm really toying with between which order between Hull, MK, and Wildcats. If you're really going to push me, probably that order I've just said. I think partly I'd like to see Hull because I like their style of play
Yeah.
as well. But I think their firepower, everything they've had they've kept most of the core there with the forward stuff, and if they can just keep firing and not get injuries and stuff, they could at least outscore people anyway. Then I think MKL and Wildcats going to be very, very similar.
Yeah, I think it's
that
going to
one.
be. One thing I will say is I think it is going to be much tighter at the top. I think Leeds and MK kind of ran away with it last season. I think it's going to be a lot closer this season. I hope it's a lot closer. I hope it's even more competitive and goes down to the wire. Right, that playoff spot, around that playoff spot, we've got a lot of teams around the mid-pack. Who do you think are the final three teams, Dan? Or four? Is it 3 or 4 teams who's going to make the playoffs?
4 teams. Yeah.
Phantoms.
Yeah.
Sheffield.
6th.
Raiders.
7th.
Telford.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
So not going Solway, like you said.
Oh yeah. So Solway instead of Telford. I'll do that.
Okay.
You think
Oh,
Telford
wow,
missed out
bold.
on
Go on, Charlie.
For me, it goes Phantoms in 5th. I think I'll go Sheffield in 6th. 7th, I'm going Romford. And 8th, I'm going Telford.
Nice one. Andrew, you mentioned it was between the Telford, Solway and Raiders. Which of those two do you reckon are going to get the playoff spot?
Yeah, well, 5th and 6th, yeah. I'm got first day. Yeah, I've probably got Phantoms and Still Dogs.
Yeah. It's so tired.
I know. I don't know, because obviously I do updates for Raiders. I like the trips to Solway.
You've got to back the Raiders, boys.
It's kind of difficult. All going to depend on injuries and how the
That's a
lines
good
settle
point,
in, and all of it is. You're gonna
Raiders
make
and
me
Solway.
if you're gonna make me choose Solway, Raiders, go through, Tigers just out.
Oh yeah, no, we have to make predictions. Some teams and players, please don't take this personally. Go prove us wrong. Make us look like fools. Dan, so that leaves Bees, Pitbulls, and Telford missing out on playoffs. Charlie, the 3 you've got missing out?
Solway in 9th. I think that will come down to the final weekend of the season. In 10th, I've got Bees, and in 11th, I've got Bristol.
Ooh, okay. See, everyone's putting Bristol bottom. I'm not putting Bristol bottom. I don't know if they'll quite have enough for playoffs, but I think Bristol won't finish bottom this season. And I know.
No, I'm putting Bees bottom.
Oh, okay. I just think Bristol. I think Bristol have something this season. It might not be playoff for this season, but I just think Napier, man, like that guy's going to steal games against some of those lower teams. I know Swindon puts a few past him, but I think he's going to be making some 30 save shutouts possibly. I really do. If he's going to be that strong this season.
Yeah, that's what changed my mind. Obviously, I did. Firstly, when we first talked about it, I put Bristol bottom. But after seeing Napier, I think, like you say, he's going to steal some games for Bristol this season. So
yeah, right. I've hated that part. I hate predictions because
I love predictions.
You don't want. I just want to make this clear. If there's any players who are watching, please don't take this personally. We have to make predictions.
They don't. This is the fun of it.
It's only a prediction.
We're
what makes
podcast.
me
We
laugh.
have to talk about
What
it.
makes me laugh is when I know that people would have sat there when I put Swindon top and gone, "Oh, he's put Swindon top," or when I put MK third. Really, third. And I find that funny because it's like, it's a prediction. This is the fun of the game. This is what we enjoy doing. It makes it fun. I got
Yeah, it's never going to be serious. It's just.
I just want to. That's the thing.
And-
I just want to make everyone happy. I hate how it's-
I'm not here to make. I'm here to make bold predictions, and what I love as well is at the end of the year, did every fan in the league have respect for bees? Of course they did.
Yeah.
So if Bristol I've put bottom go and make playoffs, I'll be like, fair flipping play. You made me look like a bit of a mug, but if they don't, they don't. That's one of them things. It's a fun of predictions. So good luck to the teams. Hope you do well. Apart from when you're playing Swindon.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Quick fire questions then. We've been recording, I think, for over an hour now. So we'll get some quick fire questions, and we'll start with the top point scorer. Is there going to be a different top point scorer? Andrew, we're starting with you. Who have you got as the top point scorer this season?
Okay. Obviously, Kieran Brown's going to be near that, and would be the obvious. But I wanted to go slightly different, so I'm going to go Luke Ferrara.
Oh, I
Ooh.
love that pick. I love that pick.
That's a good one.
That's a nice one. I'm going to say it before anyone else does, or people are going to say this might be unpopular. I think Owen Sobchak's going to finish top point scorer this season. He's on, I think, the highest point scoring line in him, Bobby, and Svek. I think they're just naturally going to get the most points, and Sobchak is he's the orchestrator of that line. So Sobchak's getting top point scorer for me. I think Brown will be up there again. We'll have to see if he plays this weekend. But yeah, I think Sobchak's going to win it. Go on, Dan.
I'm going to go same sort of thing for you. I'm going to go Svek.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice one. Charlie, who's your top point scorer?
Kieran Brown.
Fair enough.
I think Luke Ferrara will finish second. I like Andrew's prediction. I think Luke will finish really high, Lackenham, but I think Kieran Brown can miss 6 games in a season, and I still think he'll finish top. The guy's a joke when it comes to point scoring, and that's why Leeds have got 68 wins out of 70. He's a big part of that because when he goes to them small team rinks, he puts a hat trick past them. So, yeah, Kieran Brown will be number 1 for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think one take I'll say from this, everyone's putting Brown, but David, he didn't get top point scorer last season, did he? I think
he didn't get Stanley Cup either. Come on, the Florida Panthers!
So toxic. But right, let's go
What
on.
an idiot.
What was my other question?
Young player of the year, and then
young player of the year. So who's going to be the breakout player of the year? And we're going to go back to you, Charlie.
Owen Bruton.
Oh, okay.
I've seen him have a huge pre-season. Maybe he won't get the most points out of an under 20. I'd say young players under 21, so 20 and under. Yeah, I think Owen Bruton's unreal. And I think the kid's going to get opportunity. If there's any injury in that top 6, he's the guy to go in it. Yeah, I think he'll lead that third line. He plays much above his age, and I think Owen Bruton has got a huge year. And as I said, I think Hull have one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league. So I put Owen Bruton as that guy.
Nice one, Dan. Who's going to be your young player? I guess who you think will. Not necessarily the best, but your young player of the year.
I'm going to go for Finn Braden again.
Okay.
I think that third line in Leeds is looking unbelievable. I think he's just the way that he played against Leeds, the skill that he showed off. I think if he keeps growing that throughout the season, I think he's definitely going to have a really good year.
Nice one. Andrew, who's your young player to watch?
Charlie nicked my one, actually. I was going to say Owen Bruton because the under 18s and under 20 stuff.
What an
I've
idiot.
got this written down right here. But I was trying to think of other people quite young might do well. I mean, I was actually surprised when I looked at Solway and Kel Beattie's only 20. He's could be quite a good call otherwise. So if I have to go different, Kel, but I did originally choose Owen Bruton.
No, that's fair. You can have the same one because I know you wrote it down when I asked you the question. So if you've had Owen Bruton, you've had Owen Bruton. That's fine. I'm going to go Max Stewart, 20 years old, 37 points last season. I think if I put MK to win the league, I think he's going to be a huge part of that. He's only 20, man, and he's got the 2-way with Belfast Giants as well. So I think he's going to have a monster of a year. one to watch of the whole league. I know we've done our individual ones for the teams, but who is your one to watch for the whole season, representing yourself and the whole league? Dan, no pressure. Last season your guy left within a first few weeks. So what was his name? Sorry, I've forgotten.
Nick Layers.
Nick Layers. He left after a few weeks. So I think you're gonna have to try and get someone a bit different here.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think now.
We can come back to you.
Yeah, come back to me.
Charlie,
Yeah,
who's your one to watch for the whole season?
My ones to watch is coach Aaron Now.
Oh wow! Okay.
I think Aaron Now is going to hit triple digits in points this year.
Wow.
I think last year he came back off his surgery. This year he's back fully fit, and I know obviously Aaron Now is slightly. I don't think it is obvious. I think people now are underestimating Aaron Now, and I think we're going to see Aaron and Malas bring it back for one final year. That's linked to my prediction.
Hopefully not one final year. I want to see him for the next few.
But you know what I mean.
Oh. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Year, you know.
Go on, Andrew. Who's your one to watch for the whole league?
Difficult one again. Quite like what Charlie said, especially in his Raiders one about TJ Anderson. He's good and stuff there.
You're allowed to go with him. Charlie's banned from going with him, but you're allowed to go with him.
However, also on there, I'm going to get also Joe Tomlin.
Oh, well. Nice!
So
yeah.
I think I might actually just go with him to be a bit different and stuff. I mean, he's been trying to play up a little bit with Cardiff Devils and stuff as well. So I think Joe could be one.
Yeah, that's a really good pick, actually. Dan, you go yours, and then I've got mine.
I'm going to go for Mac Howlett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because obviously people still see him as a superstar.
Yeah, I think it's just he's so clever and just so good, and I think this season is just going to be different for him. I think because I don't think he's hit that 100-point mark yet, has he? I think he's
his first season he was only there for like
so he's been close. So I think this year I think he's really going to be going for that, and I think just one to watch on the ice as well. I think he's just so nice to watch, and yeah, I think he's going to be really good this year.
Right, I've got one which I'm not going to say is my ones to watch, but I think is the ones to watch of the whole league. But I'm not going to use him. That's Ryan Wells. I think he's going to come in and be the best D-man we've seen in this league.
I agree. He was going to be my one if I didn't.
But my ones to watch is Tommy Napier, because he is the one obviously we watched him against Swindon, but he is the one which I'm most excited to watch. Sorry if you find that boring or basic, but I think he is the guy to watch in goal, because if Pitbulls are going to get playoffs, I think he is going to be a massive reason for that. So I'm going to go with Tommy Napier. But
I was going to go for Napier, to be fair. He was in my thought process. But...
Yeah, but shout out to Wells. Wells is like a one which I think we all, me, Dan, and Charlie who've watched him can agree that he is definitely ones to watch, because you can just see the difference between the import defensemen and some of these Brit defensemen. Right, I think we've pretty much covered most of our preview for this season. I think
unpopular opinion.
Oh yeah. What's your go-to unpopular opinion? I didn't name it unpopular opinion before. What was it? No. Bold prediction. That's it. Bold prediction. So Dan, do you want me to come back to you?
Yeah, come back to me.
Charlie, what is your bold prediction? Because I know you've
mine all linked together, and I did this last year. Didn't go great, but this year it will. My bold prediction is Aaron Now will score the most goals in the National League.
The top goal scorer.
I'm linking it to my wants to watch and my league prediction, but I think Aaron Now is going to get the most goals in the National League. I think Swindon have got, you could say, Bricknell on one line, main goal scorer, Nall on the other line, main goal scorer, and I think we'll see that this season. And I think Nally's going to get back to his old sniping days.
Yeah, mine's going to link with something as well. I think Sobchak is just going to tear the league apart to a new level. I think he's going to get player of the season, top point scorer of the season, and Hull are going to win a trophy this year because of that. So Obviously because of other things as well with Davy Phillips, but I think Sobchak's going to be the orchestrator. I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on him now. Top point scorer, he's going to be the orchestrator of a cup. But yeah, that's my bold prediction if I had to make one. Dan, your bold prediction?
I think each team is going to beat each other this year.
Oh, wow.
So I think every team is going to beat the other team.
I like that.
There's going to be no like sweeps throughout the season.
Swindon are sweeping NK.
I think this season's going to be really competitive. I think every team is obviously going to be able to compete with everyone, and I think that's what I'm going to go for.
I really like that one. That's a really cool prediction. So Bristol,
thank you very much.
Bristol's going to beat an MK or a Leeds. I like that. Yeah. I hope it happens. Obviously, I hope Swindon's 6-0, but
Napier is going to shout MK and MK. I'm telling you now.
I would love that. Imagine he rocks up against Hull this weekend, Saturday, shut out against Hull at home. That would be some statement. Andrew, a bold prediction, if you have one for this season, can be anything.
I'm going to go on the opposite side of a Hull. I think they're going to win a cup.
Oh, nice one. I'll shake your hand on that one. I've said that as well. I think they're going to win a cup. Yeah, I think that's a good little bold prediction. Do we have anything else?
Malas is going to be the best player in the league again.
I'm surprised we've gone a whole podcast without.
I thought that's just common knowledge, so I thought I wouldn't mention it. The true people with the knowledge, like Charlie Macca, they know Malas is the GOAT. He will continue to be the
right,
GOAT.
enough of that. Andrew, before we go, where can people find you on Twitter? What's your Twitter username for everyone to go follow?
Well, probably the best place is just at Andrew Day 111. That's one thing. Yeah, Twitter or X as it's now called. That's probably the best place to find me. Oh, I also do the Raiders match night updates. I'm on that Twitter there as well. You can see me on Facebook as well. But the Twitter or X is probably the best place.
Nice one, Andrew. Thanks for hopping on with us. We've loved having you on, and thank you for all the support you've given us since we started the podcast as well, sharing it about and getting some eyes to the podcast. So appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
What's that?
I'd say thank you for having me, and I think I'm going to be seeing you on Sunday, aren't you? I think
I'm not actually going to be at that.
Big fan.
That's I've got reasons, all right. Dan and Charlie will be there, but I will see you at some point, Andrew. We're going to get a lot of fans disagreeing with what we've said, but again, that's part of the prediction. We're gonna get a lot of people hate watching this, but no, it's all part of the game. It's all a bit of fun. We can laugh about it at the end of the season if we get some stuff horribly wrong. And I actually don't think we boast about. I know Charlie boasts a bit about his playoff predictions, but that was quite impressive. But I don't think we boast too much if we do get something right. Yeah, that is the flip side of it. We're not too.
Charlie does.
If Swindon win the league, he will be unbearable.
We're still hearing about the player predictions now.
Wow. You know, they talk about McDavid and greatness. You can't not appreciate greatness when it comes around, and that was one of the greatest moments in National League history.
Shut up. Right. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. The season starts tomorrow as you're watching this, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.